6:22 on your Monday morning, which means it's time to take a look at your money. So over the last year and a half, the U.S. labor market has faced some challenging events. On the domestic side, American companies have increasingly adopted artificial intelligence within their business operations.
Internationally, companies have faced President Trump's trade and tariff disputes with many of our largest trading partners. There are also concerns about the ongoing war in Iran. So, how has the U.S. labor market held up despite all these challenges?
This morning, we're joined by our financial advisor, Mark Ravacheski, joining us live to break down for us. So good morning, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I want to wish you and certainly all of our viewers a very happy July 4th week.
Absolutely. Now, what is the current state of the American labor market?
Well, I think one can argue that, despite all these challenges you just kind of listed, overall the labor market has held up fairly well. The national unemployment rate is held firm, around 4.3%, which is up only slightly from that 4.2% when President Trump took office back in, February 2025. Now, historically, an unemployment rate of 4.3% is actually pretty good. The average annual unemployment rate for our country over the past 25 years is around 5.6%. Now, if there is an area of weakness, I would say that's in monthly job growth. So far this year, the economy is averaging, kind of around 114,000 new jobs a month. But I think Wall Street would like to see that number closer to, maybe 175,000, 200,000 a month.
Yeah, so earlier this month, the Department of Labor reported that the number of unfilled job openings has reached a two-year high of 7.62 million. So, Mark, does that indicate a more positive tone for the labor market for the rest of this year?
Well, look, I think many of the issues you guys raised earlier on, especially, look, trade and tariff disputes and, the expansion of AI across our economy, both of those created a lot of hesitation last year with respect to hiring. But I think if you look at the recent trends in monthly job gains, the number of job openings, it appears that employers are becoming a little more comfortable in adding new employees. But look, we're just going to kind of have to see how this data unfolds over the next few months.
And Mark, one of the biggest concerns Americans have with respect to their job security is the continued adoption of artificial intelligence in the workplace. What data are you seeing that addresses those concerns?
Yeah, we've certainly been following artificial intelligence and the impact on the economy and the labor market in our show. But the Department of Labor says it's found no significant impact on the broader labor market, but it does admit that AI is impacting the labor market on a much more micro level with specific jobs in industries or demographic groups. And as we have discussed before, one of the areas of the labor market impacted most by artificial intelligence, are those recent college graduates. Now, historically, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates was always well below that of the national rate. For example, in June 2010, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates aged 22 through 27 was 7.1%. By comparison, the national unemployment rate for all workers in the country was 9.5%. Thus, that unemployment rate gap between recent college graduates and the broader labor market was 2.4%. But since 2021, which kind of coincides with this surge in the use and adoption of artificial intelligence, that gap in favor of recent college graduates has now become inverted. Today, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates is not only above that of the national rate, but that gap has steadily been getting larger. In March, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates 5.6%, while the national unemployment rate for all workers, the broader economy, just 4.2%.
That gap is something to keep an eye on, Mark.
Yeah, important topic, obviously, for new college graduates, and certainly this is something that the labor market and obviously recent college graduates will, kind of be keeping a close eye on in the upcoming months.
Yeah, definitely something, leaving us something to think about, Mark. And thank you, as always.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, we're throwing it back to you. Happy 4th of July week.
Hey, thank you very much. You as well. Be safe.